Cool.
Try it again. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 11th episode. We're doing 11 now. 11th episode of Models and Movies. Today with me, I have the very beautiful Dilara Akar.
Akar, yes.
Akar, like one car. And Dilara, where can people find you if they're looking to see pictures of you?
On Instagram, it's Dilara with wings. And
right
on Facebook, it is just Dilara Akar.
Yep. So if you want to see her very many very cool pictures that she does, look for her on Facebook.
I actually just deleted my entire feed.
Too bad.
But new concepts and stuff coming soon.
Okay. Wait, so all of your Instagram is gone?
All my pictures, except for my tagged ones. I know.
Well,
a lot of them were really risky. I wanted to make it, professional.
She's gone legit.
Yes, I have.
All right. Well, the pictures that you're seeing behind us right now are the pictures that we did a long time ago, and maybe a couple that we do later today. Yeah, so your risque career is over. Sorry, everybody. Too bad. Anyway, so we watched a movie today, and that movie was a Serbian film. A Serbian film is a feel-good movie. It's kind of a raunchy comedy with kids, and actually that's not what we watched. Dilara, what movie did we watch?
It was called,
Yeah.
What was the full name of it?
Well, what was the easy title?
It was Her Name.
Which
was
Goldilocks. The name of the movie is called, well, there's two versions of the movie. Now, we watched the director's cut, I think, or whatever it was. There was four extra minutes of crap in the movie that we watched.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
we needed that 4 extra minutes.
I guess we did, because they probably fixed everything that was wrong in the original cut. The movie is called Gwendoline, or
Gwendoline.
The Perils of Gwendoline in the Land of the Yik Yak. So right away, you can tell that is going to be a winner. So before we start talking about that, we need to do Beer of the Show. Beer of the Show. We picked a beer. I picked a beer. You're going to have to take it yourself there.
Got it.
This is called Lucky Beer, and it is a beer out of China. And it has a cute little Buddha on the bottle. It's cute.
Very cute.
Yes. So I don't really remember what kind of a beer this is. It's certainly a light beer. And Dilara apparently loves 6 inches of foam on the top of her beer.
I don't know how to pour a beer.
That's fair. All right. So she doesn't drink beer. I'm only going to make her taste it and then make a face and then tell you how bad it is. I forgot to do this. So
Ouch.
Just clunk. I know. I feel so bad. You know what? This tastes like nothing.
I was going to say this beer is not bad. It's not a bad beer.
Because it doesn't taste like beer.
It
tastes. That's weird. Yeah, that's really weird. It doesn't taste like beer. Okay, well, that's good. Oh, wow. So that's Beer of the Week, our Beer of the Show, Lucky from China.
I think it's my new favorite.
Yeah. Dilara drinks wine. She's not a beer drinker.
Classy broad.
Yeah, I was about to say. All right, so let's talk about the Perils of Gwendoline in the Land of the Yik Yak. And I'm only going to say that. That's the last time I'm saying it. I'm just going to say Gwendoline from now on. So, what are your immediate thoughts of this film? Yep.
It kind of leaves me without words, actually. But my thoughts on the entire thing is just, wow.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, what?
A lot of what?
A lot of
wow. Okay, so we're gonna get right into this discussion, and we'll do the things that we always do on the show, and we'll start out with the plot of the film. So, Dilara, can you briefly tell me what the plot of this film is?
So, this woman, Gwendoline, her father was a butterfly capturer. I'm not sure how you professionally call that.
There must be a part of entomology that is strictly butterflies, and I don't even know if entomology was correct there, but I'm trying to be smart. It's a bug collector who specializes in butterflies. Yes, so go on.
So his life mission was to find this rare specific butterfly, and
it's blue.
He had passed away or had gone missing.
Gone missing.
He had gone missing, so her adventure was to find it. I guess the plot I don't really know the meaning
That's-
behind all of it.
Well, you did a really good job of explaining
The gist.
the gist of the plot. I mean, that sounds like a decent start to a movie, and then this one quickly just goes off the rails because just that sounds like a short story of a girl trying to find her father who was in search of this butterfly, and I guess she wants to find it now so that it could be named after her or something like that.
It was to clear his name, something
Ah,
with money or debt or something.
I missed that part. I was distracted by the nudity in this film, of which there was a lot.
Yes, there was a lot of nudity.
This is a French film, and I did a little research on this, and the film is directed by the same guy who directed Emmanuel, The Story of O, and Lady Chatterley's Lover, which you don't know any of those titles because you are a very young person. Anyway, back in the 70s, we had HBO, and before there was porn, we had these skin flicks that we'd watch, and one of them, all three of those were Story of O, Emmanuel, and stuff like that. So look it up. You'll be shocked that these were ever produced. Anyway,
Noted.
This was the last movie this director made, and it was probably his most legitimate, probably his most expensive, and definitely his most ridiculous. So, how does the movie start? What happens in the very first scenes of the movie?
What did happen in the beginning? The ending was so twisted that I was kind of
like how were we introduced to Gwendoline? How did we meet her?
Well, she was acting. Was she acting?
She was in a box.
She was shipped.
She was shipped from Paris to China in a box on a ship. Do you know anything about shipping stuff on a ship?
I don't know why she was shipped.
Maybe it was cheaper.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't know, but she was shipped 4,000 miles from Paris to China in a box. She should be dead because that takes weeks
and
to
there
get
were
there.
only some hay in
There was
there.
only some hay in the box. So anyway, she gets intercepted by some creeps on the dock, and they take her to some boss level guy who wants to rip her shirt, which is mom's dress.
Her mother's,
she's
yes.
very upset about her ripped mom's dress, and her mom never got to see her in it.
This was my mother's dress. She never even had a chance to see me in it. Really? Oh, stop it.
Yeah, she was really affected by that.
Anyway, we're having a bit of a trouble with this because we just finished watching it, and it was something. It was ridiculous. One of the reasons why I decided to select this movie is for two reasons, really. One is because of Tawny Kitaen. Tawny Kitaen was the main actress in this. She was Gwendoline, and I'll discuss about what Tawny Kitaen is in a minute. All right, so we didn't get back to talking about Tawny Kitaen, so I'll talk about it right now. Tawny Kitaen was probably one of the original MTV babes. Back in the early 80s, she was dating a guy named David Coverdale, I think that's his name, from the band Whitesnake. And Whitesnake put out 4 or 5 videos with her in them. One being Here I Go Again, then there was Still the Night, and Is This Love? Anyway, she's in all those videos, and she was one of the reasons why you would watch MTV as a 13-year-old boy. So it was interesting that she had done movies. Now, she had only done one other movie that I know of, and that was Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks. And she was a stripper, and she had big boobs, and she sat on a bed, and her head changed into different things that the Tom Hanks character had to make a decision whether he was gonna sleep with her or not sleep with her. And I don't know. It was just Bachelor Party is a great movie. You should watch it. Other interesting things about Tawny Kitaen is that she married David Coverdale in 1989, and then she also had an affair with O.J. Simpson during the time that he was married to Nicole Simpson Brown, and that ended her marriage with David Coverdale, and I think that also ended her life eventually. A little bit later in her life, she married a baseball player by the name of Chuck Finley, and she made a big bit of news many years after that when their marriage ended very violently. She beat the shit out of him with a shoe, and so she was arrested on domestic violence charges. Her life has just been a complete mess. She's had a I know she's had a DUI and maybe some drug charges, and I haven't heard anything from her lately. But anyway, that's the reason why I wanted to review this movie specifically, because it starred Tawny Kitaen in it, and it's really the only movie that's ever starred Tawny Kitaen. She's only done some other bit parts, things on Seinfeld and just, very 90s things. So that was the reason, and back to our review. And the other reason was I looked online and I only found 2 other reviews of this movie. So it is a terrible movie that nobody else has reviewed, so I thought, hey, I might as well. And now I know why. It's so bad, it's not even really good, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So that's how we meet Gwendoline, and then she goes on an adventure with her girlfriend and this man she meets to... Where do they go?
The desert.
They go to the desert, and then it turns into...
A rainforest.
A rainforest.
And then it's a desert again.
Then it's a desert. And then
which they find a little oasis.
Which is more like a jungle. Underground.
It is underground. In a volcano, might I add.
We never really saw the volcano, but we just heard about the volcano.
But now that I'm capable of controlling the energy in the volcano, that I can unleash the fury in its entrails, I can dominate the queen.
Or did you see a volcano? I went to the bathroom, I went to the door. No volcano?
There was
they just talked about it?
Yeah, they just talked about it erupting.
That's a metaphor. Okay. Let's then go ahead and move on, because we can't really discuss the plot. The plot is kind of all over the place. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the base of it, they're trying to find this butterfly, and they were told to go to Yik Yak to find it. Yik Yak is a place?
I'm guessing Yik Yak is a place.
It was a place told to them by some man getting a possible blowjob in China?
It was more of just like a
writhing. It was a writhing, okay. It was a bizarre scene. Anyway, the map was very conveniently placed right behind his head, so he's pointing to it and says, you have to go to Yik Yak, and you get there by going down a curve to nowhere, and he curves it out on this woman's body. It was uncomfortable, and I felt weird. Okay, so let's just go right into the characters then, because some of these characters are fantastic.
I did love the characters.
Good.
Actually.
Let's talk about them. So Gwendoline. What do you think about Gwendoline?
She was actually my least favorite.
Me too.
Okay, because I didn't really like her. She was kind of...
She was whiny.
I hope it goes on.
Sir, you gotta help us. They want to kill us. They think I'm the one who killed the perfect girl. Please help me.
I don't help nobody.
Yeah,
She
she was.
complained a lot.
Willard, stop it. You're going too fast. Ah! You're doing that on purpose.
She was helpless, and she wasn't a very good actress.
I don't like how she portrays a female as her character. I don't like how she was just...
Well, this is 1984, and all women were completely helpless and sexualized back then. So
Beth wasn't completely helpless.
You're right. Beth was a far stronger character than Gwendoline. Beth was her female servant, I think, handmaiden.
Yeah.
I guess is a good term for it. She was a definite French actress. She had a definite French look to her, and looked her up. She never acted in anything after this. This movie broke her.
Yeah, they just didn't want to be reminded of their...
I think you're right. This looked like a tough movie to make as an actor, and as a director, and as a production person, and as everybody. But Beth was a great character. She was completely useless in some points, and then she was integral to the plot moving along in other parts. So I guess that's good. What happened to her at the end? Nothing. Her character really didn't do anything throughout the entire movie, except for these little things to move the plot along.
Yeah.
She didn't really have a character arc so much.
But you kept saying that she was dumb. I didn't think she was dumb.
Well, she was colossally dumb in some points, but really,
naive, maybe.
Okay, naive.
But dumb is like a little harsh.
Okay, maybe a little. But apparently she's not so naive that she didn't have sex with a man, because that's how, at the end, toward the end, she was telling Gwendoline how to have sex with a man.
That's
sort
true.
of. She didn't really tell her the mechanics of it, but she told her it's not difficult.
How do you make love to a man?
Oh, listen, it's much easier to make love than fight 4 warriors with your hands tied behind your back.
Anyway.
Hinting that she had had
Yes,
sex.
that she had sex. And apparently was not embarrassed to have threesome sex either, because there was a scene that we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the male character, Willard.
Okay, so he is a very prominent douche.
You won't leave. We need you.
You better hurry up and go home before your mama gets worried.
In the beginning. But
He's a Superman.
he is a Superman, and
He fought Bruce Lee and won.
That's true, but it was poorly fought.
The fight sequences in this movie, oh boy, are they bad. They're terrible.
They are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, they're worse than terrible. But anyway, okay, so we meet him. The very first thing he does is he's got this little three-pronged thing that he's always got on him. And he uses it all the time, and it went into some guy's neck that was about to purchase Gwendoline, I think, at the time. So that's how we meet him. He comes in, storms the castle, and beats up everybody. And I think they're trying to make him be a Indiana Jones character, but they just didn't have the budget to make Indiana Jones, so they made this movie. But he is a stud. He is an absolute stud. He's a very handsome guy. I looked up the actor, and he hasn't really been in anything else, which is interesting on its face. But he was a good character, I thought.
he was, yeah.
His motivations were a little weird sometimes. Like he would flip, he would be complete douche, 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 and then all of a sudden he'd be super nice. We were very confused in the threesome scene. I'm just going to call it the threesome scene because that's sort of what it was.
It's exactly
where he
what
was
it was.
mean to Gwendoline, and then Beth told him to do something, and then he immediately became a completely different character.
Oh, it's a little late to start being afraid, don't you think? Maybe tomorrow when the dogs start ripping out your stomach, then you'll curse your butterfly.
That's enough, Willard. Keep your remarks to yourself. You're only heroic when it comes to money.
Gwendoline. I want you to know, if I was your father up in heaven, I'd be proud of you.
And you fell in love with him right there, didn't you?
It's just that I knew from the beginning that he had this specific soft side, and
Oh, you saw that from the beginning, did you?
yeah, because how are you just going to come in and rescue a damsel in distress who's about to get sold to some people?
Well, would it hurt you to know that he didn't even know she was in the room when he came in?
My name's Gwendoline.
That guy owed me $800. Here.
That's another question that I had. How did that even
He,
happen?
that guy owed him money. So that's why he was going in there to
Oh.
beat up the place.
Okay, that makes sense.
So she was just incidentally in that room, and that's where she went all gushy and decided that she needed him.
Well, I don't know where I saw that side from, but
It was
I
throughout.
guess-
It was showing some
he was
throughout.
kind, and I guess he had some polite qualities.
Lots of potential anyway.
Potential, yes,
Sure.
he had potential. But in all, he was a good character, in my opinion, because
He was certainly a man. I mean, clearly a man wrote this and directed this because it was very misogynistic in a lot of the parts, and the guy character had no faults really. In fact, there was a line in the movie.
Thank you. How did you know?
Call it instinct. I'm infallible.
That he said he was infallible. So that made me laugh. So literally and figuratively, the guy was a stud. Toward the end of the movie, he was being asked to impregnate one of the women of the Yik Yak. So literally, he's a stud. Anyway, let's move on. A few other characters to note. One being Darcy. Darcy was the old guy in the Yik Yak. He was basically a scientist who could destroy the place at any moment
with a button.
with a button. He built a machine. I guess it's a doomsday machine, and he could just open up the volcano and swallow the whole place, something like that.
Yeah,
They tried to have like a deeper meaning for his character by saying that the queen, which we'll get into in just a second, the queen like ruined his life somehow or made him do stuff.
I think it was more just him being a prisoner to her.
Yeah, he was definitely there against his will, but he had a plan to take the whole place down with a button.
Yeah.
A button. And we're going to talk about his workshop and the machinery of the Yik Yak here in a little while, but just not quite yet because it's insane. So the last main character, I guess, is the queen of the Yik Yak, and you said she looked like what?
Maleficent. She
I'm glad
reminded
you said that
me
because I can't say that name. Maleficent?
Maleficent.
Okay.
You did very well.
Well, if you would have told me who's the Snow White evil person, I would have said Maleficent or something like that.
Close enough.
Maleficent, right? Maleficent.
You did, yes.
I thought she had a lot of the Cruella de Vil look to her. They did an excellent job with costuming and set design in this movie. So some of her outfits were as good as Natalie Portman's outfits in the Phantom Menace and the other Star Wars movies. Do you watch Star Wars movies? Okay.
I do love Star Wars.
Good, because I want to bring up a scene that happened early in the film, and you'll actually get the reference. Are there any other characters in this movie? I mean, that actually do stuff.
Significant? No.
Nope, not really. Just a lot of gladiator women not wearing very much clothing at all.
Yeah, that was really wild.
It was the sexiest Ben-Hur I've ever seen.
Give me that! Well, get Beth, find the door, and get out of here!
Okay, well then, we'll move on from the characters because there's really nothing else to talk about with characters. Let's talk about the quality of the movie.
I don't think it was filmed completely terribly.
I would agree with you. It was definitely filmed in a large aspect, at least 35 millimeter, probably maybe even Cinescope, but they put some money behind the production of this movie. The sets were huge and beautiful. They went on lots of locations. I mean, you can't, there is no place where it goes desert, jungle, rainforest, desert. There's just no place. So they went to many places.
Yeah.
What did you think about the music? The sound and music?
I thought that there were a few scenes where the music did not capture the mood.
A few?
Hey, hands off!
How about 80% of the whole movie?
They didn't play a lot of music throughout all of it, but there were some scenes where the music was just random, just chosen just because they liked it, probably.
This was certainly an 80s movie, and
Yeah.
they had a lot of synth-type, pop-type music in the background, and what they thought was 80s love synth music.
No. Don't be afraid. Come as close as you can to me. You're shivering. I'm starting to kiss your neck.
And it was weird, and I agree with you. It was a lot of it was out of place. It didn't sound like it fit in the film. I want to address the sound issues of this film and watching it and trying to follow what people are saying.
It was exhausting almost to try to watch their mouth move and then try to listen to what they actually had to say, because it just didn't correlate very well at all.
It was like watching an old kung fu movie, because a lot of the lines didn't match up at all.
Oh, you're very pretty for an outsider.
certainly Tawny Katane is American, so she understood all the American or the English lines, and the guy, I believe, was either American or Australian, and he understood English really well. But I think every other actor on the film was French, so they spoke broken English or barely knew English at all, so they had to overdub a lot of their lines, and it was done very poorly.
But even if one of you silly little pipsqueaks interferes with us, he'll get punched in the face.
And I could definitely see a couple of places where the actor said something completely different than what the voiceover person said, which was, as you said, it was a little distracting and exhausting to watch that so much.
I tried to pay more attention to detail in the background and just listening to them talk. It made it easier.
I was just looking at the boobs.
You know you can't make me rise to
That worked for me. All right, so the next thing that we talk about is the special effects. So let's talk about the special effects in this movie.
Like when the cave was collapsing?
Some of that. There were some wounds that we got to see,
those.
which were laughable. They were laughable because they tried. What about the alligator?
Oh no, or the crocodile or whatever.
Whatever it was, alligator, crocodile. There was a scene where this super guy had just thrown the two girls off his boat. The first time or second time? I think the second time.
It was the second time.
Yeah. So he really enjoyed throwing the girls off his boat because he was a douche. And they were yelling at him about how they hid this money or they hid the product and they wouldn't tell him where it was. So he threw his little three-speared thing at them, but not at them, over them, and it hit an alligator, crocodile, which, yeah, thank you, crocodile, because it was basically a giant green foam something.
bitch!
That was in the general shape of a crocodile.
With its mouth open.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Rawr.
But
The mouth didn't close, did it?
it did not
No,
close.
it was not a working model, just a static, regular model of a crocodile. So that was pretty bad. And then the one thing I did notice was in the big opening scene, it was the Chinese docks, and it was clearly in a soundstage. In fact, I believe you could see some of the stage lights at the top edge of the screen, and I'm going to put that there just to verify. It might have been actual practical lights on the boat, but I'm pretty sure they were stage lights. Okay, so that was basically special effects. There were some wounds. The girl bled out of her fingers when she fell off a thing. I don't know, that didn't make any sense, but I think they just splashed some blood on her and said, oh, she's dead there.
Yeah.
So now we come to the does it work category. And first of all, we have to discuss what this film is.
What is it?
Yes, what genre would you put this film in?
I want to say it's like a comedy, but there's also romance, but there's also action, and it's
all over the place.
It is all over the place.
This is a film that didn't know what it wanted to be. I think when it comes down to it, it is an 80s style action adventure movie. This is born out of the movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, some of the movies like gosh, I can't even think of any right now, but something like Commando, or just some of the big action films, Romancing the Stone, stuff like that, back from the 80s, where there was romance involved and some comedy, but lots of danger, lots of unreasonably ridiculous chase scenes and stuff like that. Oh, we have to talk about the Scooby-Doo chase scene.
Oh my gosh, it was actually really cute.
You thought that was cute?
It was comedy.
Well, this is what Dilara got out of this movie.
In my opinion, it was cute, the way that they were running from this native tribe.
Yes.
they were trying to escape because I guess they were going to be eaten. They were cannibals.
This was the cannibals, yeah.
Okay, so they were escaping from them, and they were running around, and as they were running away, they would chase them and pop up like in different spots, and it was just like Scooby-Doo, like how a Scooby-Doo cartoon would be.
Yep. So the Scooby-Doo where the gang would go from one door in the hallway to another door, and then the monster would cross the other way, and then they'd cross each. It was so dumb, but I kind of understand where they were going with it. The director wanted some comedy in this film because that's the formula. You have an action adventure, you have a little romance, you have a little comedy in it, you have danger, you have action, you have some character development where the guy who's a douche becomes a nice guy, the girl who's super weak becomes strong. It was just so by the numbers and so dumb that's what I said. But this is the dumbest tribe ever because there was a scene where they just got out of one jail or one situation, and then they come and was it right after the Scooby-Doo scene where they think they're safe and then they run right into them, and Beth's like,
"Oh, it
no,
was right
I'm not
after
taking
that.
this anymore."
No. Oh, no. No.
I'm getting plenty mad.
I'm mad. I'm sick of walking and running and climbing and falling. It's too much. I just want to catch this butterfly and go on home and to be left in peace. We're walking out of the stump, but even if one of you silly little pipsqueaks interferes with us, he'll get punched in the face. It's really a scandal when a person can't take a peaceful walk in the jungle without being handsome. I tell you, no! Come on, let's go. I can't handle anymore.
She's right. They were becoming a pain.
So Beth pulls a super strong black woman thing where she's just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of this. And she smacks the tribal leader, and all the cannibals are standing there with their spears, and they're doing nothing. And they're just like, we're leaving. And then they just slowly walk through this band of cannibals, and then that's it? Or do they chase them after that?
They did chase them.
Mm-hmm. But after they got a good lead.
It was more of just like a PMS tantrum.
Yeah, I would call it that. Yeah. It was another attempt at comedy, and it probably worked. For some people, it probably worked. I think you thought it was cute.
It was cute.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So in all, I think the film works as an 80s film, and as terrible as it is, yes. I think as a whole, like as a concept, it does work.
I'm not so sure I agree with you. And here's why. I'm not so sure I necessarily agree that it's an action adventure either. Because of the amount of nudity in this film, I don't think this was ever released in America. I don't recall it ever happening, and I don't know anything about this film to be released in America, but it was a French film made by French people, and I think it was made and to be released in Europe. And I imagine in Europe they loved it because they kind of love that sort of genre of stuff, and they need the nudity to keep people interested or whatever, or they don't care that much about nudity. It was very much okay. So this was a 3-part movie. So the first part, they're in China and they're setting up the movie, I guess, and it took forever to set this movie up.
It did.
It was so boring in the beginning, but there was one funny thing where he was playing a gambling game where he moved his hand and he got knifed or something. What was that? He had his hand on a table and a guy was holding a knife over his hand. It was like, do you ever play that game Slap Smack where you put your hands up and then you like flip them over? This was that game, except the guy, Superman, or what's his name, Willard, had his hand on a table and another guy held a knife over top, and he was supposed to move his hand or get stabbed, and that was the game.
That was the game, yeah.
Anyway, he had a woman sitting on his lap with her shirt open, and he was like fondling her boob. This is a very uncomfortable scene. It didn't make any sense why this had to happen. So, and then they were ready to leave because Gwendoline and Beth came back, and so then he's about to leave, and he gives the woman a kiss on the.
Sorry, folks. What's so funny, huh?
Side of her face, and everybody laughs, and he's just like, "What? What's so funny?" So that wasn't a lady. Anyway, apparently Singapore had ladyboys even back in the mid 1800s, and that's when this movie supposedly was placed, in the mid 1800s. I don't think they got that right, but whatever. So, does it work? Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. It's a silly action, adventure, comedy, romance, blah, with lots of boobs. Lots of boobs and lots of flossed butt cracks. Oh, and I'm going to have to rewatch the scene. It might have had full male penis in it.
It was just a bush.
Sure. Oh, was it?
Yep.
Well, then I'm very sorry for him. Because if you don't never mind. Anyway, I'll have to rewatch the scene and check and see what that's all about. Because if he was wearing a merkin, that's weird. So that's I'm gonna go maybe it works. You said yes it works. I'm gonna say maybe. Which then brings us to our last question of this, and I didn't show you this question. Dilara, did you enjoy the film? Be honest.
No, I didn't.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't really either. Now, the question is, thank you for being honest and not being nice. Like, yeah.
I really couldn't wait for it to end.
Thank you. Me either. Okay, so here's one of the problems with the film, is that almost every scene took way too long. Like, they could have cut each scene in half, easily in half, and then you would have gotten the same information.
Yeah.
It would have been just as enjoyable or not. And they could have told the story in half the time, and just these scenes went on way too long, and it was for 9,300 breasts in this movie, it was the most boring movie I've seen in a long time. Anyway, so my question to you then is, how many drinks do you think it would take if you had, okay, but there's also an extra thing here. If you had two of your good friends with you, how many drinks do you think it would take for you to enjoy the film?
To enjoy it? Mm-hmm. Well, knowing my friends, we'd probably make a drinking game out of it.
There you go.
So, I would say, don't take my opinion though, because I'm a lightweight, but I would take 3 shots before I would be entertained.
You think 3 shots you should have before you even start the movie? Or
Yes.
Okay. All right, so 3 shots before you start the movie so that the buzz builds through China. Okay.
The beginning is really the worst
It is.
part.
It's very boring. It takes forever to get moving. That's not bad. Three shots before. I'm gonna say that this was tough. This was a hard movie to watch, and I had watched a little bit of it. You know, here's how I watched this movie to do the research on it, to make sure I wanted to choose this. Is that I put it on my computer screen and I sort of just scrubbed through it and found different little parts to stop on. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that looks interesting. That looks interesting. If you do that throughout the whole movie, this movie's great, because there are great locations, great set design, great costumes, really, really beautiful women in almost no clothing whatsoever, and the dude is crazy handsome. I mean, he looks like like a younger Guy Pearce, and I'll right now I'm showing you like a side by side of this guy and Guy Pearce, and they look damn near the same guy. Anyway. Watching the movie from start to finish was painful, and I apologize to you. Thank you for making it all the way through.
I needed to see the end.
Yeah, well, yeah, we needed to see how that was going to end, because it was a shit show. I'm gonna have to go with 6. You need 2 before you start the film, and then continue drinking all the way through it, because
Yeah.
this was bad. And now I understand why almost no one has reviewed this movie, because they probably turned it off within 20 minutes. The first boobs in the movie you see, they're in some bar in China, and there's a band playing. I don't know if you caught the band, but there's 3 topless women sort of dancing around in this stage bar. And I swear that was the cantina scene from Star Wars. Except it was humans and there were naked women in the scene because it was just they were playing weird instruments I had never seen before.
Yeah.
And there was
and their costumes.
The costumes were ridiculous, and there was one guy just sort of smashing plates together.
Really?
That was his. I mean, they weren't plates; they were like metal, so they made clang noises. But of course, the music they were playing in the movie wasn't going along with the clanging.
Not.
But anyway.
Excuse me.
No problem. That was adorable. So. What else can we take away from this movie? One thing where I laughed out loud, there was a scene where they got captured, all three of them, and then they were in like prison or jail cell. And the two girls were using nail files to try and go through these thick iron bars. Yeah, that's not going to work. Anyway, Stud Boy came in and pulled one of the guards' heads through the bars and his ears ripped off.
Thanks, pal.
That was
Good
a
scene.
great special effect. Yeah. That was awful. There's a silly scene in the rainforest where it starts raining, and Willard demands that they take off their clothing.
What's he doing? He's gone mad.
Take your clothes off, quick!
To which I said, "What? What is going on?" But apparently, you can fashion your shirt into a rain-catching device, so you won't die.
I thought it was going to be something about body heat and keeping warm and, taking your clothes off to, be more susceptible to that. But...
Well, next time I'm caught in the rain with somebody, I'm going to demand they take their clothes off because...
To catch rain.
Yes, to fill my canteen. Anyway, during that part of the movie, there was a silly scene where Willard talked about the one time he was in love. Who was he in love with?
He was...
Oh, you might have missed this.
I don't remember.
It was a panther.
Wait, why didn't I catch that?
Because it was when they were walking in the rain, and there was so much rain you couldn't really hear what he was talking about. But he said that he was in love once because she asked him, "Have you ever been in love?"
Haven't you ever been in love with anybody?
Yeah, with every woman in the world except you. Nobody tells me the way to live my life. I lived my life the way I choose.
Asking you to change.
You know, the first time I met you, you reminded me of this panther I freed from a trap. She was perfect, like a woman. Her eyes beautiful, and she followed me everywhere I went. And then one day a hunter killed her. I cried. Ha! How embarrassing. I was such a jerk.
And he goes, "Yeah, once. I met a panther and blah, and it had the most beautiful eyes or something like that." I'm going to show you the scene here. And he says, "And then a hunter shot it." And I cried.
He was talking about a panther.
That was a panther he was talking about, not a woman.
I'm sad for this character.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, he wins at the end because they fall in love and they roll down a sandy hill.
Oh, yeah. Touching.
If you had to give your best guess, how long do you think this movie spans across? Like, what's the time period from when they meet, or when we meet Gwendoline until the end of the film? How long do you think that takes?
It really only seems like it's like 3 days.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff happens very, very quickly. Oh, another weird thing about this movie is the editing is horrible. The editing, there were many times in the movie where we were just like, what? Yeah. What happened? Where? It feels like there was supposed to be some scenes in between, and they were just like, oh, this movie's too long and boring. Let's just cut out that scene. Like, Gwendoline is presented to the queen, and she's completely naked except for like this little G-string, and then, I'm not kidding, there's a cut, the camera moves, and all of a sudden she's wearing this weird S&M
harness
neck
type
thing.
Yeah.
It's not very smart of you to refuse my friendship, Gwendoline.
And it feels like it's the same scene, it feels like it's the same time, and they give no indication that anything has changed. So that happens several times throughout the movie, and it's very jarring, and that's not how you make films. Anyway, that's the end. We're done. We're done talking about this.
Good, because that movie was honestly...
Well, Dilara, I want to thank you. I want to thank you and apologize to you. I wish I could have picked a better movie, and I literally thought this was going to be a better movie
Well,
from jumping through it.
somebody had to review it.
Well, it was either this or Showgirls, and it's not Showgirls. So that was our review of The Perils of Gwen. You don't even know what it is, do you? Don't look.
About Yik Yak.
The Perils of Gwendoline in the Land of the Yik Yak.
In the Land of the Yik Yak. I just got Gwendoline.
Thumbs down. It is also known by Gwendoline. So look it up online. You can actually watch it on YouTube. I don't know which version it is, but it's definitely boring. And again, I want to thank you for doing this with me.
Of course.
Behind us right now, you're seeing, or maybe it's overlaid on the screen. I don't know how I'm doing it. You're seeing some pictures that we took inspired by this film. And I will, in retrospect, apologize for that too. So you're enjoying now a couple of the pictures of what Dilara would look like if she were in the land of the Yik Yak. And there you have it. So I know I've been away for several months, and I hope to do more of these. I'm supposed to do one next month with a very special guest, and we'll see if that happens. And until then, thank you very much for watching, and subscribe if you like. One more time, Dilara, you can be found on these two social media platforms right here. This is Instagram and Facebook. There's no pictures on your Instagram at the moment, but you'll be repopulating them soon.
Yes.
Awesome.
Under renovation.
Very good. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.